So many property owners employ property managers to give them a degree of separation from the tenant. So with this in mind, many of our owners enjoy less stress associated with owning a rental property. Sometimes work undertaken by the property managers can be undone by even the most well-meaning of owners. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this part of the session. There are some negative effects of an owner having direct contact with tenants without the property managers being present. Also, where owners don't notify the property managers of their intentions to visit the tenanted property, they can really break some of the rules that now incur rather large tariffs through the Tenancy Tribunal. You see, as property managers, we need the opportunity to request if owners visiting the property is acceptable and approved by the tenants and residents. The consequences of this not being adhered to could be very costly against the owner of the property. Yes, unfortunately, litigation is alive and well in the property management industry, and tenants are well informed of their rights and the landlord's obligations within the Residential Tenancies Act 1986. So let's not give them a pile of cash if we don't need to. Here's an example we recently experienced. An owner was at the property checking on exterior maintenance without giving prior notice. And this was the first breach. It's an unlawful act and carries a large fine. The tenant grabbed the opportunity to seek permission to have a dog at the property. The owner wasn't experienced with the Residential Tenancies Act and agreed, but the owner omitted to inform the property manager. The property manager is the agent of the owner and therefore the landlord. If the manager was advised of this change to the dog situation, they could have followed the correct procedure. They would complete a variation to the original tenancy agreement allowing one dog of XYZ breed, and they would have inserted a clause that in the case of any damage done, by the dog of course, the tenant would be liable. Further, it's a good idea to put in another clause stating that if the dog was disruptive to the neighbourhood, it would have to be removed from the residence. In this particular case though, the first the property manager knew of the dog was when they were doing a pre-vacate inspection and they were greeted by a barking dog. The tenant was partway through their notice period and was due to vacate in 2 weeks' time. An application to the Tenancy Tribunal would have gone ahead to remedy the defects and damage caused by the dog. In fact it did, and in response the tenant lodged a counterclaim for unlawful access by the owner. And in real monetary terms, the fine of the owner negated the original claim and the owner was left out of pocket for some of the damages caused. Unfortunately, at the vacate day, the property was left in a damaged state. There were holes in the lawns, plants, ruins, soiled carpets that had to be replaced. The owner was upset and didn't understand that we could have managed the situation to everyone's satisfaction if we had been kept informed on the onset. We would have been in control of the situation with legal and correct documentation. Also, the dog may or may not have been allowed by us in the first place, but unfortunately the owner neutralised our authority as the landlord by having direct contact with the tenants. Most owners don't realise that the landlord, or property manager, is the one with the legal contract with the tenant. The owner has given authorisation to the management company who becomes the landlord. However, it has been found in Residential Tenancy Tribunal that the actions of the owner can impact as landlord on the tenant. So that means that although you have the degree of separation by the property manager, if you as an owner breach tenancy law, you can be up for some of these fines. And we find time and time again property owners' decisions with regards to direct contact with tenants impact on the court rulings. The best advice we can give to any owner is to make sure the lines of communication are working well with your property manager and that they are kept informed of any letters or matters relating to the property. This allows the property manager to complete their job in a compliant and professional standard for you, while giving the best possible advice.